Unfortunately, startup founders are often deprived of that bitter truth or constructive criticism. They get sugar coated BS from their prospects instead of a purchase order or funding. And we at Atom are set to change that. That's the reason we host these roast sessions where founders get to answer difficult questions and learn from the brutal, unfiltered feedback from subject matter experts. And all of that is done on a live stream to make founders comfortable with unknowns. Today, we have Sali Igbal, CEO and founder of Morfeu, on the hot seat, who is going to be roasted constructively by a diverse panel. Now, I will request our panelists to introduce themselves. If I may start with Arvi. Arvi, please.
Hi, my name is Arvinder Gujral, or Arvi. I was the first employee for Twitter in India and one of the first in Asia. I set up Twitter India and APAC, and I was there for 8 years, from 2013 to 2021. And since then, I've been investing and advising startups. I helped Wati from Series C to Series B, and now I'm with another startup. So yeah, looking forward to Sali, your presentation.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Arvi. And because you have been with the corporate world and with the startups investment in the investment scene as well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting insights from you. Thanks a lot, Arvi. Robert, please.
40 plus years in educational technology, first employee at Princeton Review, founding CFO at 2U. Both of the companies obviously went public. Have spent the last 10 years focused on mentoring what I call inventors, founders who have built a product but now need to scale it into a real company, and everything from startups through public companies.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Robert. And Morphew has one of the use cases in the education space. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting insights from you on that ICP as well. Thanks a lot, Robert. Faheem, may I request you to go next, please?
Hi, everyone. My name is Faheem. I'm head of growth at Shanook Group here in the Middle East, one of the largest luxury retail groups in the region. And I've been managing performance marketing, brand marketing, and growth for some of the beauty brands here. So nice to meet you all. Looking forward.
Thanks a lot, Faheem. And this is the second time Faheem is joining us for a panel. And he has been always extremely insightful in the panels and in the row sessions. So thanks a lot, Faheem. Really appreciate it. Fabrizio, may I request you to go next, please?
Sure. Hi, Pajak. Hi, everyone. Fabrizio. I am founder of Illumini. It's a London-based AI labs focusing on architecture of AI agents. I work with startups. I work with all of the business of all different sizes on how to sort of get on the AI revolution. I was until recently chief product officer at Lamb Chocolate, UK's largest venture builder. So got involved with lots and lots of different startups and scale ups during the last 6 years. So looking forward to this session.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Fabrizio. And Zeph, note to you, whenever Fabrizio is asking a question or making a comment, you need to hear very, very carefully because he's going to grill you quite a lot on the technology aspect of the business. Thanks a lot, Fabrizio. Appreciate it. And Zihe, please.
Yeah, hi, Pankaj. Thanks again for inviting me. Basically, I do more of the public equity side. I am a hedge fund analyst. Doing investment like specifically for the listed companies. So I hope that I can apply some of the perspectives from that kind of large mature companies backwards to the startups. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Zihe. Appreciate your time. Again, thanks to all the panelists for your time today, and I'm sure that we are going to have a very insightful conversation. Again, as I mentioned earlier, don't hold back, don't hesitate. We need to be as candid as possible. I'm sure Sally is completely ready with all the answers and with responses, right? Now, Sally,
right.
you please go ahead, do a quick intro yourself, and then let's get into Morphew.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And amazing panelists here. So I started a little bit sweating, but we will see. I'm Sali, and I have a background and experience in media and TV content production for 25 years now. And together with a group of friends and co-founders, we started Morfeu. And at Morfeu, we are building generative AI tools that help kids and, of course, adults around them tell meaningful, personalized stories through video. In a world of full noise, scrolling screens, we believe stories are still the most powerful way to connect, teach, and inspire. And kids deserve storytelling tools that are dynamic and imaginative as they are. So this is why we started Morfeu and released our first product called Lila. And we are a team of 5 co-founders. Me, myself, I have a background, as I mentioned, in media, and my previous venture was Gain, a streaming platform. Sam, our CTO, has an engineering leadership roles at Cisco, NYU, and different corporate companies. Shifam, one of our co-founders and chief operating officer, she built and scaled enterprise team across Europe and Middle East for IBM and Honeywell. Zef also is here as our chief science officer, holds a PhD in design computing, and brings decades of expertise in AI, user research, and narrative instructions. Midad also, in our coding side, we worked with him together at Gain, and we were able to release a streaming platform with just 3 team members. And together we are building something right now that sits in the intersection of imagination, education, and AI scalability. And our first product, Lila, it's a tool that transforms simple ideas into magical animated stories automatically. No scripting, no editing, no hassle, just publish-ready, personalized videos in minutes. And it's designed to be safe for kids, of course, powerful for educators, and engaging for brands. Lila is the first step of Morfeu, building a storytelling engine that adapts to age, emotion, and purpose. And at this point, I would like to switch my screen and do a live demo with the product itself, because we have a product which is live now, available on App Store, Google Play Store, and also as a web app. This is Lila, designed for kids ages 3 to 12, and of course for parents and educators. And with Lila, you have a child profile predefined,
Sunlight,
of course, and you can
and photons, tiny
excuse me for a second. Yeah. And you have a child profile already predefined, and you can create a surprise story, or you can go and click a custom story and create a story in detail. Right now, we support 22 languages. I'll stick with English. And this is where the magic happens. We have this input box where you can put your idea. It can be just one sentence, a few words, or like a whole paragraph, even a whole script. I'm going to go and put anything simple like why the sky is blue. Or does anyone have an idea? We can put anything. Okay, I'll move it to why the sky is blue. And we have a few details that you can define. So you can define a plot. If you want this story to be something meaningful, you can define maybe magic and wonder, and define a moral theme. Let's leave it empty. You don't have to. And we have right now 5 predefined visual styles that work better, but we are working on to adding more visual style. I'll stick with the animation. And when you click create story, right now what's happening in the background, our video agent starts to work on this one sentence idea, create a story, and then it creates a storyboard with different scenes and visuals, and then animate these scenes and visuals as videos, doing the background narration, voice narration, background music, and putting everything together. And it takes up to 3 to 5 minutes. I'm going to switch to my presentation and then come back to see the result. Yeah, this is how it works. And as Pankaj mentioned, we started testing the platform with educators and parents. And the problem with the education was most educational video content is too static, too generic, and not age appropriate. And teachers want tools to explain complex topics in engaging ways. And parents want to add some value in screen times. So we tested Lila for creating stories around topics like honesty, and even some educational topics like how solar system works, even some sensitive topics like bullying. Teachers loved how it reinforced classroom values, and parents used it as a bedtime stories. But As now institutional sales are slow and B2C monetization needs to be frictionless or embedded in the existing platform because this type of products didn't exist before, and we need to figure out how to explain this to the core audiences. And I'm gonna here.
In what markets did you go to market with school and district sales?
In United States and in Turkey, also in Germany, in Europe, testing the markets. And I would like to show you a real life example. For example, teaching gravity to an 8 years old, it's not that easy, especially the idea of gravity as a force field. So we tested how Laila would handle a childlike question, simple like, why do things fall down and not up? And what came back was a playful, age-appropriate explanation that felt like a cartoon, but of course, explaining everything.
Mia drops her toy and wonders why it falls down. Mia tries throwing her teddy bear up,
Do you have the audio?
but it comes back down.
Yeah.
Mia meets Professor Orbit, who offers to explain gravity. Professor Orbit shows that Earth pulls everything toward its center. The professor explains that bigger objects have stronger gravity. Mia learns that gravity keeps us from floating away into space. Professor Orbit drops a feather and apple in special tube with no air. Mia discovers that air resistance, not gravity, makes feathers fall slower. Professor Orbit explains that gravity is a force of attraction between all things. Mia thanks gravity for keeping her feet on the ground.
And also, next we looked how brands, especially brands in toys and kids products, can use Laila. These brands struggle to differentiate with static images and log product descriptions. And we build a demo flow where toy becomes the stars of their own video stories. Brands love how stories clarify the product value, encourage bundling, and build emotional connections with kids. But integration right now and brand safety and compliance are critical, and these are the challenges that we are facing and solving right now. And I'm gonna show you this real-life example that a toy brand gave us a brief, make their product feel like something magical. And it's a plush toy available right now in Canada. And what we did, we simply feed the product description and the product image to Laila, and we had a beautiful video created with this specific toy as a character and a story behind the characters, behind this toy's value. A simple product became a moment of wonder and joy. And also, Laila is able to do
Sali?
We lost Sally for a bit.
Yep. Sifam, could you please continue?
At the crowded beach, Mimi spotted a sandcastle contest and walked over to watch. A friendly teddy bear named Sandy waved and invited her to join. I'm Sandy. Your inner tube has the perfect colors for our castle. Mimi helped decorate the sandcastle with shells collected by Bubbles the octopus. Shelly the turtle suggested using Mimi's tube as a castle moat. They filled the inner tube with water, creating a perfect moat around their castle. Their castle won first prize, and everyone cheered for Mimi's special contribution. Mimi smiled, hugging her new friends. Her beach day turned out perfectly.
And as a next step, we experiment with creative agencies. They're always under pressure to create more and faster content all the time. And we gave early stage access to some teams, to Laila, and to help with the quick turn concepts and mockups. It worked well prototyping, and even some agencies used Laila generated content in their client pitches. But in this case, creative directors, they were a little bit hesitant. They wanted more customization and transparency and control over the content. And if you want agencies to use Laila in scale, right now we are implementing a creator mode and giving more control to them. And this is again one real life example, a brief coming from a German brand called Labe. They sell handcraft tools and organic toys, but they also create some blog content where they promoting upscaling with everyday objects. So we just feed this blog post to Laila, and what it creates, it turns a video that explains how kids can build toys with everyday objects in their homes.
Hanna
The
findet
video
eine
is in
Kiste
German, so
mit
I'm going to
alten
skip the
Sachen im
video,
Keller.
but it
Lala
explains how to
erklärt,
build
dass man
toys
alte Dinge
with everyday
wiederverwenden
objects
kann.
that are available
Hanna
in their homes. We went even further. We explored other verticals like publishing companies, wellness, and even mental health support. So there is this one use case happening in Istanbul. An occupational therapist used Laila in his therapy sessions, like creating videos together with the kids, and results were impressing. Improved focus, excitement, and participation in therapy. Faster behavioral improvements tracked via post-session reports, and increased parental involvement and use of video at home. And basically, the feedback was great. Laila made therapy fun and personal. Kids felt seen, engaged, and eager to return. And our roadmap is structured to validate use cases fast and scale what works. So we launched Laila for Kids in February as a public beta, and already we have more than 500 users. Next, we are going to release Laila Studio that gives more control on scenes and more detailed approach to work with scenes, with audio and everything, to give control to creators and educators. And later this year, our aim is to release Laila for personal video entertainment. Think like something like Netflix for all ages appropriate, but all AI generated and hyper personalized content for everyone. So basically, this is Morfeu and Laila, and I sum up a few questions, but you are more than welcome with your brutal questions and roasting.
So again, thanks a lot, Sali. But again, before we start the questions and roasting, I want to make this disclaimer that Morfeu is at a stage where they are experimenting with different ICPs. On education ICP, I think we face some challenges. We face some sort of roadblocks on that. And then we are obviously experimenting with toy brand or e-commerce or kids consumer space as well. So yeah, let's take the feedback. Let's take insights and questions.
Is the video you created ready yet?
Oh yeah, let me switch back to the. Sorry, I just forgot the video. Yeah, it's here. Sky Magic. I'm gonna hit play. Let's see.
Mia looks up at the bright blue sky, wondering why it's blue. She asks her mum, but mum is busy cooking dinner. Mia draws a big question mark in her notebook about the blue sky. Suddenly, a tiny glowing light sprite named Professor Prism appears. Professor Prism creates a tiny sun and white light beam in his hands. The sprite shows how sunlight breaks into rainbow colors through a crystal. Professor Prism creates tiny air molecules floating between them. The sprite shows blue light bouncing off the molecules while other colors pass through. Mia looks out her window, now seeing the blue sky with new understanding. Professor Prism waves goodbye as Mia excitedly runs to tell her mum what she learned.
Yeah, that was the result.
Who wants to go first?
I can go. Can I ask a question about how you've been funded so far, Sali? Because obviously, video generation is a big game. It's a very big game. You're up against some very big players who are very well funded. We all know that the technology is not quite there yet. And I think one of the barriers to adoption of AI and one of the challenges you have with whichever ICP group you choose is that they want to see value that is going to allow them to replace existing solutions, right? So if they need to add a new tool and keep everything else that they have, then they don't see the economic value. And there is a current kind of state of the economy and so on in the world where these ICPs will be a bit hesitant to adopt. So if you could tell us a bit about how your funding strategy has been so far, and where you're at, if you've been bootstrapping this, if you've got some, you don't need to tell names, of course. We're
sure.
we're public
Sure,
here,
no.
just to get an idea. Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty open, by the way. We started by bootstrapping the company until we have the final product, like finalize the product as a prototype, maybe MVP. We received, let's say, an angel investment last year from an investor that also invested in my previous project, a video streaming platform, OTT platform. She just wanted to jump in and invest a little bit money. We received $200,000 with SafeNote last year, but still we are bootstrapping the company. And also in parallel, we started to do like pre-seed round, looking for money that will cover our a year operations, a little bit marketing, and also covering the upcoming product releases.
That's great. Thanks, Sali.
Thank you.
So I think on that note, I really like the fact that you're going down a niche and you're trying to sort of position it in, just do one thing really well or do two things really well instead of doing everything. I like the simplicity of the approach of the instructions. Creating video with Sora, with Runway, it's still quite challenging and it requires a lot of understanding and expertise. So really like that aspect. Now, you mentioned control. Obviously, the big challenge we're seeing with LLMs everywhere and all other kinds of models, machine learning models, is to control them. It's not so much to ask what you want, but it's to control them and make sure that it delivers what you want. So one of the things that I've seen last year that was really impressed was Video Jam's physics behavior control. So how are you, and perhaps this is a question for Zafar, I don't know, how do you see that as a sort of a differentiator? And I don't know if you're familiar with the case. I can share a link afterward. There was a paper that was published last year. I think it's an Israeli company called Video Jam.
Yep. So Zach, do you want to take it or I can jump in? That's perfect. Okay. So
I'm not familiar with the paper. If you could give me a little bit of clue about what they're talking about.
Yeah. So they developed a sort of they added some data for training that was specific for physics behavior. So the data normally used for video generation is for video gen, right? You're predicting what the next kind of what the next slide would look like, or the next frame would look like. But they added another layer of training which predicts the physics behavior of the subject, and that improved a lot the physics. And interestingly, you were showing a few educational videos that relate to physics or relate to other things. So it's kind of that kind of behavior is something that is bringing a lot more realism to video gen, and is something that I believe is going to be very important for adoption, because that's the first thing that sort of stands out, jumps out. It's like, oh, okay, that movement is a bit out of place there. So I'm happy to share the paper with you afterwards. But it's effectively using like different type of data to add to your tool, so that you're adding predicting movements and predicting behaviors that look more natural rather than just the image generation.
I can maybe add a little bit here. So we are not using that, but I'm familiar with the article. So actually we tried it while working with a fashion brand, especially when you have the models that they need to do like spins or jumps or like various hand movements. I mean, with the current product, when we look at our prompt, we customized it for 3 to 12 years old kids, but focusing on their learning and focus abilities. So how can we improve that, and how can we make it more attractive and engaging? With the movement, we are using like different Gen AI video creation tools, and we are kind of relying on their capabilities. So far, when we are working on Studio, I think this article will come very handy, especially when we are doing like product videos that can be customizable, used by the agencies or creators. But with the current product Lila, we didn't need it, but because the focus was more on learning and development, like what type of color palettes, wording, the the education level, etc.
And also fun and interactive mode. But also in business perspective, we built Lila to be an orchestration on top of available JI infrastructure. So in our case, we use different type of video diffusion models for different cases. For example, if it's going to be more photorealistic, we use different model. If it's going to be more fun and entertaining, and maybe like with fantasy characters, we use different type of models. So in the way we built Lila, it's some kind of plug and play module. So basically, we see a lot of great advancements in available models in physics, in camera movements, in different objectives. So in our case, we are pretty open to plug and play any model that will work better for any use case. We have different type of use case, and we orchestrate all available models to create more affordable and more realistic videos for specific cases.
Let's take questions from RV. I think he has unmuted himself.
Thanks, Pankaj. So can you give me a one-line answer of what was the company gain? What did it do, the one you exited? And I'll tell you why I'm asking the question after you tell me what it did.
Yeah, it's a video streaming platform, like something like Netflix, built in Turkey, in Turkey, targeting Middle Eastern region, called Gain.tv. It's still in operation. We exit in 2023. I was responsible for building the team, developing the software, and running the company as a CEO through the exit.
Excellent. So I'll tell you why I'm asking the question, because I always believe that your foundation of what you have done before helps you do better the next time you do something, right? It's very rare for someone to pivot their entire learnings of their entire life to do something extremely new. And the reason I wanted to emphasize on the point, and in the spirit of being constructive feedback and not destructive to roast you guys, just 4 friends of mine in my zip code in Singapore are working on creatives for agencies, just in my own zip code in Singapore, right? So if I were to say it's a cluttered market, that's an understatement of the year, right? Everybody wants to solve for creatives for the agencies. And I scratched my head because when I was leading Twitter in APAC and then SEA, agencies are the industry which is actually plummeting. Their margins are declining, their revenues are declining. It's a dying industry. And obviously there'll be a replacement cost to it. And hence everybody's trying to solve for it. So do you want to be the nth, n plus n player to solve for it? So I know that you are at a very formative stage. So I appreciate that you're trying many ICPs, which is absolutely correct. At the stage you're in, you want to try multiple ICPs to see which one you stick. But from where I'm sitting and I'm hearing your pitch, and I saw the video even before I came for this call, I would first of all take that ICP of agencies, and you might just make some real revenue today to pay your bills, but I don't think it'll get you to Series A and Series B. That's my honest observation, right? But it is easy revenue. You might get some PNG to give you, or a Mattel or a Lego, and say, you know what, here is an ad for a toy, make 200K, make me 5 creatives. And you'll take, you know what, money in the bank. Instead of raising money from and diluting my equity, I'll just take 100K from somebody and pay ourselves, which is absolutely fine. But it won't get you to where you want to be. Given that your past has been running an OTT kind of a platform, I immediately saw 2 things that came to mind. First of all, I think you want to do something really interesting, targeting and verticalizing AI or LLM models. So what do I mean by that? I have kids as well. If there is a child-friendly LLM model for them to create something, I would say, you know what, use this and don't use ChatGPT, because I do not know what ChatGPT is going to give you when you put some prompts in it as a child. So that's something you can think of as a larger, very large play, right? Do you want to be an LLM model for a child, right? For them to create things. Now that, if you just put that problem statement, there is no, how large is this market? I don't know how to define it. It's a freaking large market. Or if I want to bring it even more narrower, I would say with your core strength of running a video service, you can do something as basic as becoming the first AI video channel for kids on YouTube, right? You have these huge YouTube channels that have, that have been acquired by Netflix for their content, like the kids' content that just got acquired. I forget the name of the show, right? Flip,
A lot of.
right? You can create content at a much faster pace, which is child friendly at a specific age group. And you say, you know what, I'm going to own this demographic globally, right? Because now language is no longer a barrier. It used to be a barrier. It's no longer a barrier. You can pivot it and make the largest content repository of educational content for kids of a certain age and say, I'm going to be the king or queen, being gender inclusive, of that category globally, right? Again, this is a punt you need to believe in. And I'm only saying it because I wanted to know what you did in the past. Because of your background in this, there is higher chances of you succeeding in something you've done in the past than doing something you've never done. If you go down the education route, you've never done edtech before. You've never sold to campuses and schools and colleges and universities and parents and tuition centers. For you, it's a muscle you need to develop. I'm not saying you cannot develop. You're smart. I'm sure you got us very smart, but it'll take you a longer time to find success in that route than something you have done in the past. So I always believe the DNA of what you've done in the past helps you do better in the next iteration of what you're doing next. And my advice is try and be closer to what you have, the known variables, than creating more unknown variables. Anyway, startup life is tough. There are so many unknown variables. Don't try to create more unknown variables. So that's my constructive feedback in the spirit of being constructive.
You are on fire, Arvi. Thanks a lot for that.
Thanks a lot.
Can I ask something? So I'm still trying to understand why, but like, what would you recommend us to go which direction? Like considering the background.
I am not going to make a recommendation. I'm not a soothsayer or a consultant. It's very easy to make a recommendation. I'm just making an observation. So
No,
my opinion is, I'll tell you what you might want to avoid. You might want to avoid going down the marketing creative route. Okay. That for me is my known variable. I know that market well. And I think it's a very tough market to compete when there are so many players just in a zip code of Singapore, right? You're sitting in Turkey. It's very tough. You might win some immediate battles and get some briefs from agencies who are friends of yours in Turkey or Europe. But you will not be able to scale it to $100 million company. Again, it depends on what your vision is. Your vision is to scale it to $10 million and pivot and sell it to somebody and walk away to sunset. It depends on what you define as success criteria. So I will not be prescriptive to say this is what you should do, because that's not in my place, because I don't even know enough. It's like this is like an arranged marriage. I met you for 10 minutes and you're asking me to tell you what you should do. That's very Indian of me.
It's an arranged marriage. That's the first question.
Hence, I don't want to prescribe. What I would say is things that you could avoid and things you can think of. Again, this is just my observation sitting far away from Singapore in a 9 and I've just had a glass of wine. So take it with a pinch of salt.
Thank you. That's very valuable. Thank you. As an addition to that, my dream in the first place was to empower individuals to create any type of content, like any individual to be able to create a movie, to any individual to be able to create a YouTube ad or TikTok ad with simple clicks. But when we jump into and we went to Web Summit, a few other places, and everybody was asking, how about creative industry? Do you guys have any solution for agencies, or how are we going to leverage this to agencies? But at the end, my initial dream is to empower any individual with no skills, let's say a small business owner, to promote its products everywhere online with polished videos.
I think Robert had a comment. Robert, please.
A couple of comments. Well, I know absolutely nothing about video, but I'm not afraid to make a comment, so you can dismiss it. I actually personally didn't like the fact that the voiceover is all third party. I think the fact that neither the kids or the toys speak is a real limitation. I actually didn't love the voice. It didn't feel like a teacher to me. So these are probably very easy things to fix. So just put that away. I think when it comes to the actual product, I want to pile on for the creative agencies. There's a lot of different video quality out there, and education, self-created videos can be fun and interesting, and you have to enjoy them. If you asked me what is the opposite of that, I'd go to a creative agency which needs the highest quality product. And I don't think you're going to be able to build a product, because you can't build everything that is great for a teacher in a school for a 7-year-old and serves the same needs of someone who wants to put an ad on the internet or on television. So it feels like that's such a different product. Again, I started by saying I don't know video, but that was my feeling. Specifically, as it relates to education, I think my comment's going to be very useful, which is I don't think education's all that different than other markets, because when I see products like this, I do not believe they should be sold directly to schools. The issue is that two separate issues which are kind of negative to sell to schools. One, they have so many different products. This is a point solution. I could see a lab where kids are having fun creating stuff, but going into a school and saying, I'm going to help you solve, 12 minutes during your day, they can't buy 100 different products and figure out how to run their day. So there's a real consolidation. Schools are trying to buy fewer things. Secondly, we all think about teachers as creators, teachers who create lesson plans. And the truth is, a very small percentage of teachers are creators. Most are consumers. They want other people to give them things to use. So I believe this has uses in the educational world, but I would focus on selling to who I think are the real content creators, which are companies that have platforms already deployed to schools, or to the traditional publishers, right? The McGraw-Hills, the Pearsons, the folks who are already in the schools might be able to put this in the solution. The disadvantage is you probably get lower revenue per customer, but the advantage is you only have to sell once and they're pushing it through. So I find a lot of tools like this can succeed by making ends in the publisher world as opposed to going direct to school. So that's something you should consider. And maybe when we're done, we can connect. I know a publisher who, it's a content creator that works for the publishers that might be willing to talk to you.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question, Robert. Thank you very much. Very valuable feedback. So you said teachers are not creators, but consumers. They want kind of, I understand it, but can you open that a little bit more to understand what we should provide?
So the issue is, we all know the top 5% teacher who makes his or her own lesson plans, who creates everything from scratch. And I think every industry has this. They have the expert user, and we see that user and we say, we want to create a tool that will allow them to create things to give to their students. And we'll always find, you go to a school and find that person. The problem is, in the 70 teachers in the school, he or she is the only one. So I think the issue is teachers don't want to sit down and create videos. So you have a tool where, if I'm a publisher and I want to create I could do this tomorrow. If I want to create 10 videos to explain astronomy, I could do that, create it, put it up on my LMS, and then take that and sell it to schools. So the product works for the user. In fact, I would argue you could even make it a little more sophisticated, because the person who's creating it isn't the 5th grade teacher. They're the 5th grade curriculum creator that works for McGraw-Hill. They'll be able to spend more time on the product creating the video, because they're going to pre-populate this curriculum and then sell it to the teacher. So I think the issue is, I don't think the teacher is going to want to deal with this. The teacher comes to work. Think about the teacher's day. They come to work at 8 a.m., they leave at 3 p.m., and every minute they're sitting in front of a bunch of students. Where's this time for them to go create a whole new curriculum for their students? And again, I'm not saying no one does it, but most don't. So your audience isn't the teacher, it's the publisher who's going to build something and then give that to the teacher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Definitely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, Faheem.
Quick question. First of all, thank you for presenting. Really interesting, and I think really interesting points from everybody. My question is, what's the data, or what's the LLM behind these scripts, right? So how are you pulling the data that is kid specific? And secondly, how are you making it safer for kids to consume this content to make sure that the model is not hallucinating or just to avoid all the sensitivity around kids content?
Great question. Thank you. We leverage different type of LLMs again for different type of purposes. For example, for safety checks. I mean, in the first place, we have one LLM, major LLM. In most use cases, we work with Claude. In some cases, the ChatGPT, fine-tuned and for specific tasks. To create the story, and then we have different type of safety agents that check in every step if this content is appropriate, age appropriate again. For example, when we have the story created by Claude, we have ChatGPT, in a few different levels checking the story. And then when we have the storyboard created, like the visuals, again, we have one safety agent that checks every image, if it's age appropriate, if it's like story appropriate, if it does answer the question. And in the final step, we have another safety agent that checks the voiceover narration and the background music if it's like suitable for the video. So again, we fine tune and leverage right now available, commercially available LLMs for different tasks, and we fine tune our models to deliver specific tasks. But basically, we have. I mean, this is why the video it's taking like up to 5 minutes to generate, because in every step we double check, because kids content and safeties are major concern and major focus right now. So we have different type of safety agents that checks in every step.
Sounds good. And how's the marketing looking? How are you advertising your solution? Are you running any ads? Have you identified what's your CAC? How are you trying to be profitable?
Yeah, another one great question again. I mean, we are mostly team of builders that focus on specific tasks. And in one point, I think it was February, when we have the first real life product ready to be deployed for users, we were like, okay, guys, how are we going to sell this? How are we going to present this to people? We talked with Shifam, and we had Hans joining to the team. Right now, as I mentioned, we are trying with different ICPs, trying to reach out to them, doing some cold outreach or leveraging our personal network to reach out to them. And also recently, last month, for the month, we are experimenting with some online ads going on TikTok and Meta for visibility and targeting users. And we see a lot of traction coming from the ads. And in parallel, we are working on a solid strategy. I mean, what we really realized, we started with a price point that was around $14 per month as a subscription. But right now, and after 2 months, we lowered it down to $4, $4.90. This was first outcome coming from the first beta users. So right now we have a lower entry point, and we're going to advertise with this price point.
Apologies, Sali, for interrupting you, but Arvi had to leave. So Arvi, please.
Hey, Sali, Zephyr, it's great meeting you guys. Congratulations.
Thank you, Arvi.
I love the product, but unfortunately I have guests over, so I need to leave, but we'll connect. I'm going to be in Istanbul in June.
Thank you.
Meet up. Cheers, guys.
Perfect.
Thank you,
I
Arvi.
appreciate your input. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Nice meeting the panel, guys.
Okay, thank you, Arvi. Yeah, Fabrizio, please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to build on Arvi's and Robert's comment recently, because it's one of the great things of having lots of bright people in the panel, isn't it? I think one of the things that Arvi mentioned that made me think is, Sali, you can keep your vision, you can keep your long-term vision, but focus on the step that's right in front of you, right? And an example that everybody's familiar with, Amazon started with books. I'm pretty sure there were lots of people asking them to sell all sorts of things at the early days, but they said, no, we're going to sell books, and that's what we're going to do. So you're going to get lots of people asking you to be in the advertising market, to be in other markets, to get your product to do those things. But if you're trying to get your product to do those or everything, it's not going to do one thing well. So I think the first thing is, like, you got a plan, you got that niche, that vertical. Try and focus on within that vertical, and then to Robert's point, really like his comments. I've worked with ed techs most part of my career as well. One of the markets there that is very rich, that has a lot of money, is the tutoring market. So you don't need to just go after the school teachers that are doing the formal curriculum delivery, but actually personalization becomes even more important in private tutoring. And there are very large global franchises like, I think it's Tutor Doctor, it's a global franchise. They have tutors everywhere. And those tutors have to create tailored approach because they're earning top dollar to deliver one-to-one tutoring. So again, you might carve out that sort of hyper vertical. I think I mentioned that, Pankaj, in the last roast session, right? I think AI is opening this very thin sliced markets of hyper verticals, and you can build $1 million companies by focusing on a very narrow hyper vertical, and then from there it can expand. Right? Once the kids start using that, they start liking, they start seeing the result, then it becomes easy for you to sell in other places as well. So yeah, really like the spark of the comments of my fellow panelists, and I want to share that.
Great input, Fabrizio. Thank you.
Zihe, anything from your side?
No, I think I've sort of a lot of points, but they're all well covered.
Thank you.
I'm comfortable making one last comment.
Please.
You know, I'm a hammer, so I see everything as a nail, so you'll forgive me. It does seem like the product you've built, and I know the tools can be used in different ways, and maybe they already exist, is built for education. And you have to ask yourself, even your marketing is, we're interested in education. If you want to be an education company, there are, and forgive me, I don't know this platform at all, so I may be saying something I shouldn't say. But there are accelerators very much focused only on education companies who create community around people that are solving how to take products like this and get them to market. I found that education folks who work in broader accelerators fail because it's a very particular industry. And again, if we connect, I can recommend a group that I think is very good at that and has, for me, I think, a spectacular group of CEOs building companies at very much the same stage.
That would be great. I mean, thank you. Yeah, that's.
Thanks a lot, Rob, for the support, for the insight. And Sali, Sifem, and Zeph, this is also a good time for you to get any recommendation or insight or ask questions to the experts. You are sitting in front of experts. I think if you have any question, please feel free.
No, thank you very much. I mean, we're receiving really nice feedbacks, especially like when it comes to education. I mean, we did interview some like leaders in the, especially like K-12 education, and Fabrizio's comments is very accurate, and what we discovered as well during our research, that it's really difficult to enter the schools. So that cannot be the way because of the bureaucracy, layers, etc. And yeah, it's a good input to reach out to places like Dr. Tutor or private educators in a way. But when you look at the product as well, I kind of receive like two type of understanding. It's a one-click video generation platform. Like we are using different Gen AI tools to create video. So when you look at the product, like what is the first useful place that comes to your mind?
I can jump in there because we were working in one of the ventures at my previous company, where we were developing a content creation tool, and there's kind of two things that we were always grappling with: is the tell me everything that you want and I'll go away and create for you, or let's create these things step by step and you define things all along the way. So for example, Rob's comment about the voiceover, do we want to give the choice to choose the voiceover? Do we want to give them the choice to assign a voice to each one of the characters? Do we want to edit transitions? So there's no silver bullet solution yet, but we tried different approaches, and one of them was like, let's have a longer conversation in a sort of a chat mode or conversation type mode with a sort of a panel on the side where it's kind of it's a bit like a scratch pad of your agent, so the users see what's happening, what's being discussed, what's being agreed, and then it goes away and creates. So at the moment you've got a form, right? They pick a few choices and then they say go. So you could have that a bit more interactive to make it, to get more context from the user. Or you can invest in editing tools where they come in and after they generate that first video, you can, for example, perhaps have a timeline where you say, I want this transition or this bit to be a bit different. I want to change the voice. I want to change the music, and so on and so on. So these are the two kind of approaches that we always grapple with, and different users are going to give you like different types of feedback. But I think there's always going to be something at the end that the user is going to want to change. And we started with the tell me everything or we'll do it for you approach, and we started to gravitate to the other case. I'm not saying that this is the right approach for you, but I think balancing the ability to edit and control that and fine tune that with creating something for them to start with is a really good user experience from all the research that we did.
Thank you. And I have one last question to Faheem, if you have some time. Faheem, do you think this type of video automation, in our case, we have this toy product coming to Laila and becoming a short video in 22 languages. Do you think this type of automation for creating video content for product listing pages will work in the future? Like, are they like e-commerce places are willing to have more video content in their product listing pages? How do you see this?
Yeah, I think creating video content for PDPs is definitely helpful. I think for all the mainstream e-com players, platforms, I think all successful big e-coms, Amazon, eBay, or the websites that we manage, you don't necessarily want to have a video on the PDP, because from load speed point of view, either you want to embed a YouTube video or you want to keep it something that is like very crisp or very small, just from SEO perspective. So you don't want to bulk your pages too much. So it's not really a best practice to have video on the landing pages, unless you have very sophisticated tech to make it work. But from marketing point of view, definitely. I think any company who's building new products, launching new toys, it's very easy for them to use the tool and make those things to life. So I see like more of a marketing use case rather than a content use case. And just going back to the UI part, I think if you look at the two most successful tools in the world from search or AI point of view, it's Google and ChatGPT right now. And if you look at the UI, both of the websites, the UI is just a search bar, and that's it. There's nothing else, right? So the simpler the UI, the faster people are able to use the platform and go from there. Also, in your intro, you said it's from 3 to 12 years of kids, and then parents and educators, which is great. I have a 5-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and it's very hard for them to type. So a lot of parenting these days is not to push kids towards tech. So we even discourage them to watch YouTube, for example, right? So I think as Robert said, it's more on how you can go from commercial side to educators and penetrating those markets rather than focusing on B2C.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Faheem. Really appreciate it. If anybody has one final piece of advice for Sali, Sifem, and Zef, please feel free to chime in. One final piece of advice before we hang up. Okay.
I think my would be, as I mentioned earlier, just stay on the vertical that you identified and really go deep into that. Until whether you decide that that's no longer the right one or to start with, or you crack it, because if you try to push 2 or 3 different verticals, it was already hard for a startup. Right now, with the way the market is crowded, it's impossible. It really is.
So very strong niche. Okay, thanks a lot, Rob. I think you unmuted yourself, please.
No final comment. I just assumed
no final comment. Zihe?
Thank them when we were done, and I wanted to be open for that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Zihe, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm gonna cause I wasn't giving a roast just now, right? Just I'm thinking of if you like you have to be very clear that you want to go horizontal or vertical, like because Fab just said that like you have to stick to one vertical, right? But either you want to go horizontal in the future, or you want to go vertical, like you just want to do education like for the whole time, right? But like that's different, right? So the initial approach can be different. If like let's say you wanna do education specifically for long, then you have to think of your customer your specific customer group first. You wanna make the time as big as possible. Like you have to directly let the kids be the user, right? Not only let the tutor be the user, because for them it's not scalable. They do not have, so it's not like kind of discretionary pricing, right? It's like they purchase once and they have 1,000 copy to, like you're not directly charging the end user. So these are the things that you like. I'm not making a directional suggestion, but I think that's the thing that you want to make it very, very clear at first, because that will be the different paths. So if you wanna be in the education for long, like maybe at first you wanna make your product as good as as comprehensive as possible, as one kind of one-stop solution, like for the kids to ask any like questions, and for them to be very, very easy to use without the supervision of a parent. Like I'm just saying one possibility, right? Like just this thing, like to have to be very clear.
Thank you, Zihe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, Faheem, any last comment? Any last piece of advice?
Yeah, just one or maybe 2 things. I don't want to be like Dalai Lama of business or marketing, but eventually I think at the end of the day, it's your product, right? So make your product so good that it will eventually find its niche, and it's going to find its users anyway. And secondly, because it's an AI product, so you want to have this product distributed to as many users as possible, because right now you yourself and we don't know what can be done from educational point of view, right? So maybe there's one smart guy out there or a kid out there who can produce such a good output that one video or one output can become like viral, and that's like the breakthrough for you, right? So at the end of the day, you want to distribute it as much as you can. So yeah, but good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, all the panelists. Again, really appreciate your time today, and it has been extremely insightful. I'm sure there are a lot of ideas that started generating in Sifem, Sali, and Zef's mind. So really appreciate your time today. Sali, any final comment? A lot of thank you from your side.
Yeah, extremely helpful. I was expecting more to be like pushed, but thank you very much. All the thoughts and inputs are very valuable. Thank you very much.
And let's reconnect in the near future, see how we can support each other, how we can collaborate with each other. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Best of luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.